Hello, everyone, and welcome to CTN's Happy Tales. I'm your host, Melissa Bondi. Happy Tales features rescues, organizations, and individuals who volunteer their time helping animals. Today, I would like to welcome from the Michigan Avian Experience founder Francie Crockey. The Avian Experience uses non-releasable wild native Michigan raptors as teaching partners all over the state regarding conservation of these beautiful animals. And she has brought along a few today of these wonderful birds that we're going to meet. Welcome to the show, Francie.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for having us.
Absolutely. So you've brought some beautiful birds. I'm very excited.
I did. So I thought we would start off with the American Kestrel.
Okay, let's talk a little bit
Yes.
first about the organization itself. I know
Yes.
there's a lot to talk about, and then we'll get to her.
Okay.
But first, tell us real briefly what the experience, what's the experience?
So Michigan Avian Experience, like you mentioned, uses non-releasable birds of prey, like the one that's making a noise right now,
Right.
if you could hear it. So all of these birds have been injured in some way, and their injury is healed, just not well enough for them to survive on their own.
Okay.
And so we take them to a variety of programs. We take them to schools, all the way from preschool to universities. We go to fairs and festivals, family reunions,
Okay.
a lot of veterans events. So pretty much anywhere who someone has an interest in birds and wants to share that with other people.
Okay. And tell me, how are people reaching out to you, finding out, like, this is new to me. I didn't know you put on this educational program.
Right. So Michigan Avian Experience, in the form that it's in, has only been around for 3 years.
Okay.
Previous to that, it was the River Raisin Raptor Center. But as Michigan Avian Experience, most people find us through either our website or our Facebook page.
Okay.
And then the other really big way that people find us is just by word of mouth, because we do programs literally around the state. And we have some very high profile programs that we do. So one of our birds flies at the Eastern Michigan home football game.
Okay. Every year? Is this a yearly thing?
Every home football game,
Every single.
weather permitting.
Okay. And so how far out do they book you? I mean.
This is at the end of one football season, they'll book us for the next.
So when you say fly,
Yeah.
the birds.
Right. So some of our birds do have some capability of flight. And having wild birds in captivity, there's a lot that you need to take in consideration
Sure.
to keep them healthy.
Sure.
Because you don't want them just standing up and eating. Their existence needs to be more positive than that. So we look out for their mental health as well.
Okay.
And based on some behavior that a few of the birds have exhibited, to me, I interpret it as that they were bored. And so I started training them to do other things. And with the birds that are capable of flight, we fly them. And yes, it does give them physical exercise, but it gives them that mental stimulation. It's really important to keep them healthy in captivity.
Okay.
And so this is actually one of the birds that we fly.
You fly her.
We do fly her, but we only fly her inside.
Okay.
So this is an American Kestrel, and they are predators, but they're small, so they're also prey. And in this part of Michigan, we have a very healthy hawk population, and Cooper's hawks will feed on American Kestrels, so we only fly her inside.
Inside. Okay. So let me ask, where are these birds kept?
Where are these birds kept? So Michigan Avian Experience is on my property in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And so we have about 25 acres. And so it's a mixture of field and forest, which is really nice because all these birds live in outdoor flight enclosures, and they look out over all of that natural area, which is also very visually and mentally stimulating for them.
Sure.
And they're outside year round.
Okay. So the ones that can fly, she's kept inside.
She lives outside.
She does.
But I only fly her inside. Yes.
Okay. Would you fly her in our studio or no?
Not today. So when I fly her at a new place, it's something that we need to practice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like just like for us, when we go to a new place,
Sure.
we need to spend some time to check it out.
Absolutely.
And although she's probably capable of doing it,
Mhm.
the holdup is probably me.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, absolutely. So, how many people is the organization made up of?
Technically, we have two of us that work on essentially a daily basis.
Okay.
So I'm the one that's there every day because it's on my property, which is really super nice. And then there's another lady, Sarah Gilmore,
Okay.
who comes in and she handles the majority of the birds. And then we have our board of directors, Jody Wyman, which founded the River Raisin Raptor Center. She is our president and helps with a lot of the back end things, financial, keeping our books in order,
Okay.
as well as she has a lot of experience in training birds and kind of helps direct us and support Sarah and I in training the birds. And then we have a few volunteers on top of that.
So, well, I was going to ask you, do you take volunteers?
We
Can I volunteer?
do.
Like, what's the
Yes.
process?
So Michigan Avian Experience is located in Brooklyn,
Mhm.
which it's about 45 minutes to an hour away from Ann Arbor, and that can be a deterrent for some people.
Sure.
Because in order to work with these birds, you need to establish a relationship with them.
Okay.
And the more time you spend with them, the better. So we require a weekly commitment, and so it's usually a couple hours once a week for the year.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned, did you say 25 birds? Or on property?
We have 12 birds.
12. Oh, no,
Yeah, we have 12
12 birds.
25 I could do. I'm
Okay.
sure my board would not let me go that high.
Okay, that's a lot. So can you talk about where they all came from? Or
Right.
not all of them, but
Yeah,
just give us
so
an idea.
all of the birds came through rehab centers. So they were found injured or found some way and taken to someone that has a permit. And you need to be federally and statewide permit in order to work with these birds, either in the capacity that I am or in a rehab kind of capacity. And so they went through rehab and essentially they failed. So their injury healed, but they just couldn't take care of themselves.
Okay.
And so, for example, this Kestrel, she was either pushed or fell out of the nest. We're not exactly sure. And a woman brought her in, and this bird was really quite young. And physically, the bird is fine. But when the bird's eyes began to focus, they focus in on what feeds them. And it was people feeding her. So she identifies with people.
Okay.
And for that reason alone, she's unable to go out in the wild.
Okay. What do you feed her?
What do I feed her? She has a very well-rounded diet, like what they should out in the wild.
Okay.
So I feed her mice. About 60% of a wild kestrel's diet here in the Midwest is made up of mice.
Okay.
I feed her other birds. So I have a source of English house sparrows, which is a bird that you can find at a lot of bird feeders, but it's a non-native species, so it isn't protected.
Okay.
So I have people that collect those for me. She gets a fair amount of grasshoppers in the summertime, so we go out and collect grasshoppers for her as well, and that's what they would eat out in the wild.
Okay. So let me ask you, what is it that you mentioned some things that you need or people bring you or give, donate. What is it what are some things that the Michigan Avian Experience needs from volunteers or someone who just wants to help and that maybe can't make that full commitment for a year?
So the things that Michigan Avian Experience needs, it runs the full gamut.
Okay.
So sometimes just a simple donation of paper towel, gallon of bleach, gallon of simple green, those kinds of things are so valuable.
Sure.
Because that's what we use to keep their enclosures clean.
Yeah.
And we clean them on a pretty much a daily basis. Okay. So we use a lot of things, a lot of cleaning materials, scrub brushes and sponges and all of that kind of stuff. That's not a huge financial commitment to people.
Yeah. No.
We also have people that donate newspaper. We use a lot of newspaper, and so that's something that people are already purchasing, and we're just repurposing.
Okay.
And then, like I said, it runs the gamut. So we have people that sometimes donate wood that we use for building new enclosures.
Okay.
And we actually had an Eagle Scout last summer build a new enclosure for our golden eagle, which was really super fun.
Okay.
So she has a nice large spot to live. And then financial donations, we seek them out to support our school programs primarily, because there's a lot of schools that can't really afford to bring in special guests.
Right.
And, while I may hold, our organization has permits to have these birds in captivity,
Right.
these birds really belong to everyone.
Okay.
And everyone should have the opportunity to visit with them. And just because the school can't afford the program, for us,
Right.
doesn't necessarily mean that we can't come in.
Okay.
So we go out and we
Okay.
solicit donations to cover that cost.
Good to know. Okay. And now you mentioned going out to
Yes.
organizations and schools and events. And do you do private events too? Like, I'm going to have a birthday party. Like, would you come to a birthday party?
Yes.
Okay.
We do lots of private events. And birthday parties are a really big thing. And we also do retirement parties, which is really super fun.
Okay.
Especially when we have a bald eagle. And so
Yeah.
when someone's retiring, we have a bald eagle and a turkey vulture. And those are really fun things that people put a play on with retirement and
Right.
folks as they
I see.
age. So,
Okay.
but usually for those types of things, the person that's retiring has an interest in birds. And this is
yeah.
a way that they can be celebrated as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Real quick, you and I, before we go to a break, you and I talked about, I had asked you, said, can I touch the birds? Can I hold the birds?
Right.
And I cannot, but there's
Correct.
for good reason. And what was the reason?
Yeah. So, in order to handle these birds, you actually have to be listed on our permit. We have permits through both the state and the federal government.
Okay.
And then touching them is always a really funny thing. I train them to handle a certain amount of touching from me.
Okay.
But I only do it in private because they don't like it.
Okay.
And so I need to be able to feel their keel, which is their breastbone. With some of the birds in the wintertime, their feet dry out. And so I need to be able to put lotion on the bottom of their feet, a special type of thing. And so they need to handle a certain amount of touching. They don't like it.
They don't like it. Yeah.
They don't like it. So we don't force it on them.
Yeah. What is the biggest bird that you have
The biggest bird that we have on site is our golden eagle, and she weighs about 13 pounds.
Oh.
And she has about a 6.5-foot wingspan.
Okay.
She's not a bird that really likes to travel. So if you want to see her, you would have to come to our site during one of our open houses.
But that was my next question, real quick. You go out?
We do.
You let people come too?
Yes. So in order to come to our site, you have to either come to one of our open houses that are all listed on our Facebook, and so that's just kind of a drop-in program.
Okay.
And you come and you stay as long as you want, and then we have trails on our property, so people often go for a walk as well.
Okay.
And then you can also schedule a private program, a private tour, and that does have a fee of $175, and that's for an hour for as up to 30 people.
Oh wow! Okay,
And
so it's a big tour, like a big group.
So it's
okay.
a pretty big group that we bring in.
Okay.
Although it is on private property, so we don't have a lot of amenities. So like we don't have a public bathroom, for example.
Okay, Francie. Well, listen, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna bring out the other birds. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this short break. Hello, welcome back everyone to Happy Tales. I am excited to sit down with Francie today from the Michigan Avian Experience here in Michigan, and we're going to meet some birds right now. So, Francie, I'm going to have you get up. You can
Right.
show us our next guest.
So all of the birds that we work with at our organization are all birds that you can find right here in Michigan. And the kestrel that I had out the first time, and this next bird that I'm getting out, are birds that nest right here in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
And I'm trying to, let's see, step up.
Hear him.
There we go. I know we have the one down here calling.
He's loud.
The one up on top is just making a few little chittering noises. There we go. So the reason why I didn't say what it was until I brought it out is because I wanted people to see her.
Okay.
And now that you see her, you can tell that she's definitely an owl.
Amazing.
She is phenomenal. So this is a great horned owl.
Great horned owl.
And,
okay.
They get their names because they're the largest the owl that have horns.
Okay.
They're not horns, they're not ears, they're just feathers. But they're important because they use them for communication and for camouflage. So they easily blend in with the tree during the day. But right now, the feather tufts are just kind of hanging out. If the bird were really nervous, those feather tufts would be straight up in the air. And so I can look at this bird as the handler and be like, yeah, she's in a new place, but she's feeling pretty comfortable.
Okay. So talk about the neck and the turning of the neck. It's so
striking, isn't it? So owls can turn their heads around about 3/4 of the way.
Okay.
So like from front to side to side, background up front, 3/4 of the way around like this. But it gets better because they can spin their head like this. So like spinning your head to the right, so your chin is up at the ceiling, top of the head down on the ground. So they can turn their head upside down.
Oh my gosh.
Without moving their body, just their head and neck. And the reason why they do it is because, the reason why they can do it, I should say, is because they have twice as many vertebrae in their neck than we do. So there's more surface area to rotate around on.
Okay.
And the reason why they do it is for their sight, because their eyes don't move. Their eyes are super big inside their head, so they can't move. And also for hearing. And a lot of the movement that this bird is doing right now is because here at CTN, the way the room is set up, my voice is traveling around the room in an odd way, right? Because we have the sound protection around. And so the bird is hearing things in a different way than what it normally does. It's trying to figure the world out by sound.
Okay.
Yeah, because great horned owls, their sense of hearing is good enough that they can hunt a mouse living underneath the snow.
Oh my gosh.
So the little bit of sound that's going on in here, the bird's like, what is it? What is it? So their ears are in different places.
Sure.
So you see that dark line of feathers?
Yeah.
That's where their ears are.
Okay, yep.
And they're slightly different sizes. And so when the bird is moving its head around, it's triangulating sound.
Okay. And these birds they're not nocturnal. Are they nocturnal? Are they in the day?
They are nocturnal, but see, here's the funny thing. We grew up learning nocturnal means sleeping all day.
Right, up at night.
Nocturnal actually means active at night. And so just like you and I, it can be dark outside, but we're not asleep. But we're not super active either. We're more active during the day. We're diurnal, but we're still awake when it's dark out sometimes.
Yep.
Just the same, but the exact opposite.
Opposite, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long has he been with you?
So this bird's been with us for 2 years. And how you tell the difference between boy and girl by looking at them is usually their size. And when you look at this bird, this looks like a rather small great horned owl. So it leads you to believe that it's a boy because the girls are the bigger ones. But as it turns out, for great horned owls, if you listen carefully to their hoot, the girls have a 5-note hoot, and the girls have a 7-note hoot, and the boys have a 5-note hoot.
Okay.
This one here has a 7-note hoot. So it turns out she's just a really small girl. A very small
So this
female.
is small.
This is really small. This is right? I mean, when you look at her, she looks giant. But you can work with a female great horned owl that's at least 2 inches taller than she is.
Oh, wow. Oh my
So
gosh.
she is a small little girl.
So we hear these animals. We
Right.
hear owls.
Mm-hmm.
What we think all the time, oh, it's an owl, like in our
Yes.
backyards,
Yeah.
Do we see? I've never seen one. Like
It's
in the
super hard to see them because
Yeah.
of their camouflage,
Yeah.
right? So they blend in. That's what they're supposed to do
Okay.
during the day because there's a lot of animals that don't want owls living in their space because
Okay.
owls will hunt them at nighttime. So if they see an owl during the day, like a blue jay, for example, or a crow,
Mm-hmm.
they'll mob the owl and harass the owl until the owl moves out of their territory. So
Really?
owls want to hide at all costs. So we seldom see them.
But these birds are
They're here.
they're here.
They're here.
all okay. So
Yeah,
they're not.
we have them nesting right here in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
And the best way to find them is actually by listening at nighttime. December, January is a really good time to listen for them.
Okay.
And the boy has a hoot that's along the cadence of "Who's awake? Me too." So it's a hoo 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 hoo, and that's what you listen for the boy. So the girl sounds a lot like that, but she has 7 hoots.
Okay. So let me ask you. I didn't ask you about this. As far as if someone finds an animal,
Right.
do you take them in? Is this something that we would
Right.
call and say,
So I do not have rehab permits.
okay.
So I am listed as a transport for other centers that do have the permit.
Okay.
So if I find an injured bird, I can take it to them. But your best bet, if you find an injured animal, and it doesn't matter what type of wildlife it is,
Okay.
the best thing for someone to do is do a quick search for Michigan wildlife rehabilitators. And you'll
Okay.
come up on the Michigan DNR webpage.
Yep.
And it's listed by county as well as what animals they take care of.
Okay.
And so that way you know that the person that you're taking that animal to is trained and has the right permits in order to do the job.
Okay. Yep. And actually, you've had a couple of those organizations on this show.
Right.
So
And they're
just wasn't
super
sure.
important.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yeah.
they
absolutely.
are.
That's why I had to ask. Okay. Well, we want to put her back.
So
and
I'll
see-
put her back.
See who's next.
And the next bird that we get out is our second largest bird that we have at Michigan Avian Experience. And she is very well known to folks that live here in Ann Arbor because the first 9 years of her life she lived here in town. And about 3 years ago, when we started Michigan Avian Experience, she moved out to Brooklyn with me. And she's quite loud.
She's very louder today than last time, I think.
Step up.
Is this?
There we go.
Oh, wow. And this is a.
This is a bald eagle. And that
Oh my.
right there is her big adult sound. So when you hear
Fascinating.
eagles on TV and the movies and things,
Yeah.
they often put in the red-tailed hawk call
Okay.
because it's a much cooler sound than the sound that she just made. Or at least that's what people think. I think that's a pretty amazing sound myself.
Yeah.
Because when she's calling
argue.
like that and I'm on my property, and like I said, we have about 25 acres, I can hear it through that whole area.
Oh my.
So it's a great way for them to communicate with each other. So
Sure.
when you're a mated pair, it's a great way to keep track of each other in the territory.
Okay. So this is the eagle that you fly at the
Yes.
games?
This is the bald eagle that we fly at the Eastern Michigan University home football games.
Okay.
And so fall is a big flight period for her, as is spring. And so in the springtime, she teaches a lot of physics students about physics of motion. So her and our red-tailed hawk go to high schools and junior highs, and we fly them in front of the students, and we outfit students with stopwatches and velocity guns.
Neat. Okay.
And they take real life data
Sure.
watching the birds fly, and then they go back into the classroom and put that information into different physics equations to figure out information that they couldn't actually log in at the time.
Okay. annoyed with the tether?
Is
No.
she annoyed with the tether? No, she's actually just stretching. So Michigan Avian
Stretching,
Experience
okay.
is about an hour away, and she's been in her travel crate, and
Absolutely.
she's like, okay, we need to stretch a little bit.
Of course.
Yeah, that's
Of
what that's
course.
about. So when we fly her,
Okay.
we take the leash off.
Okay.
So the jesses, the piece around her ankle and the leather piece that comes off with that stays on her all the time.
Okay.
And we take everything else off so it's not dragging down on her.
Okay. Now, is this one of the birds, or let me ask, all of the birds that you said we don't touch them?
Correct.
So you go out to a school and the kids are fascinated.
Yes.
I don't know that this is exactly like a little puppy where you're like, I want to pet the puppy, but there's some fascination there.
A lot of people want to touch her.
Touch it, right? Because
right. And so that's actually one of the reasons why, if you've noticed, I haven't given them any pet names. So I haven't called each of them a human name,
right,
because they are not pets. And so I refer to them as bald eagles to help people remember, no, she's actually a wild animal, and you don't want to touch wild animals.
That's a great philosophy there.
I
absolutely agree.
Although,
even any animal in captivity, I kind of feel.
I do have dogs, and I have to pet things because that's who I am.
Sure.
So oftentimes in programs, I have to put my hand behind my back or in my pocket, because that's my natural instinct, is to reach out and touch things.
Absolutely.
So I totally understand where people are coming from, because that's who I am.
Right. So let me ask now, where can people, we mentioned the organization, but where can they find?
So Michigan Avian Experience is easy to find on the website. You can, on the internet, you can just Google Michigan Avian Experience, it'll come up.
Okay.
But our website is MI for Michigan, miavianexperience.org. And we are a nonprofit organization, so we qualify for that .org.
Okay. And just a few more minutes, but I want to ask you, how did you get into this? Like, where is the passion? What is the love? I mean, clearly this is for you.
Someone to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I got my degree in environmental education and interpretation. It's interpretation of natural history was my my area of study.
Okay.
But I was just kind of a bird nerd. Growing up, I always really liked birds. And so when I graduated from Northern Michigan University, I was looking to see who was hiring, and the Raptor Center at the University of Minnesota was hiring. Okay. And I pestered them till they gave me a job. And that's where I got all my training on how to handle birds.
This is so amazing.
So 20-some years later, I now have
12 birds.
12 birds on my property.
That's too funny. What's the smallest?
The smallest that I have is the male American Kestrel. So you just saw the female. The male is a little bit smaller. He has kind of blue-gray wings. Okay. And he weighs a good 5 grams lighter. Oh, okay. So right, like what's 5 grams? It's nothing. It's like a penny. Okay.
Well, Francie, I want to thank you so much again for coming on the show, bringing these guys and showing us, guys and gals. This was amazing. I learned a lot. So, the best of luck. And I know you said 3 years.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't see you stopping anytime soon.
Not anytime soon. Although I will say this bald eagle's 12 years old. She can live to be almost 50.
Okay, there you go.
So
then
we're going to be here a while. So thank you so much for having us, Melissa.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Francie. Thank you for coming. I hope you had fun.
She says yes.
It's a great time. Thank you so much. Well, that is it for this episode of Happy Tales. For more information on the Avian Experience, you can visit them on the web at michiganavianexperience.org. And for more programming from CTN, you can visit us at our website at ctn82gov.org/CTN, or you can talk to us on social media, #CTN Ann Arbor. I want to thank you for watching, and we will see you next time on Happy Tales.